And the best thing too, the chloroform isn't instant, because whether it's death or drug effects, I hate when that shit happens in an instant.
It could look like someone you know, or it could be a stranger in a crowd. Whatever helps it get close to you.
It's insane, right? Art the Clown.
I'm something different.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to another Modern Horror Movie Talk. I'm your host, Tyler Nichols, and Andrew Hatfield back for another one. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm back. I seem to be following you, Tyler.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we actually had talked about on a recommendations video a little bit ago, the film today, so we wanted to expand upon that because didn't really get to talk about it much. And plus, like when we had talked about it then, I hadn't watched the movie in, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, something like that. So this was my first time watching It Follows in, about 7 years. And it blows my mind that this film is almost a decade old. We are so close to it being a decade, which is insane to me because I don't know. When I think of this movie, I think of it as very, very recent. But it's somehow not. Like, for those that don't know, It Follows uses what is essentially an STD demon as its main villain. So once the curse is transferred to you sexually, this demon will slowly walk towards you until it kills you, and then it starts all over until it like reaches the origin. So no one else can see it but you. So that alone is so high concept and so good. So what do you think of It Follows, Andrew?
I love it. And again, thinking this is almost 10 years old because it's 2014, right? I remember watching this at an apartment I lived in Westminster, California. I also associate this. Have you seen The Guest? A lot of people say it feels like a John Carpenter movie. It's got the guy from the other movie we discussed, Dan Stevens.
Yeah, Dan Stevens. I was trying to think what I was like, Beast, yeah. Which is really sad because like I think I've seen that movie once. Things. Yeah, and I don't like that's not what I think of when I think of Dan Stevens, but apparently it is this time.
Yeah, in all that makeup. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think of these two movies together. That it could also be because our girl's in both of them, right?
Yes,
Micah Monroe.
Micah Monroe, and I will be referring to her as Micah during this because for some reason I just like can't get it through my head that her name is Jay Height is the full name. I mean the last name alone, whatever, but like,
well, wasn't her name in God Is a Bullet also really weird?
Yeah. She's just has some weird, I don't know, I guess some weird names, which speaking of which, probably because of this movie, I've always really liked Micah Monroe. Like after God Is a Bullet, it kind of made me go like, oh yeah, what's she been up to? And her new movie is like very God Is a Bullet like, but with Nick Cage. So I'm like, this girl likes to do the dark stuff. So it just makes me like her even more.
To say that's playing into your wheelhouse essentially, so that works.
Yeah, because I've said it on Joe Blow Horror many times, but based on this series, people might think that it's possession. But my favorite kind of horror film is a journey movie where it follows a character just going down a rabbit hole trying to solve an unsolvable task. So Nightmare on Elm Street, Evil Dead, even The Descent, even. So I cannot say how much this is tailor made for me.
Yeah. Did you see this in theaters? I know it killed it on its budget. But
so, I was a hater of this movie at first. This movie came out and it was at a time where I was just going through a lot and I fucking hated anything that I considered pretentious. If something just hit off my pretentious bell, I was like, nope, I can't do it. So I started It Follows in like 2015, I think, and watched the like opening and hated it and was like, I can't do it. I can't. And then revisited it after I had so many people were like, dude, you got to get over it. You're going to love this. I finally revisited it and was like, what the fuck was I even like? What is wrong with me? It's so good. There's so much about that scene in particular because there's so many ways that could have gone that it just doesn't leave an impact. And the thing that really stood out to me this watch was the leg twisted up. Like, it's such a great visual and it looks so good. If it looked bad, it would be like silly.
Yeah, it's a killer opening, no pun intended, but it shows the girl running away and you don't see what it is, and then it just does a quick cut to her body or what's left of it, and you're like, oh well, whatever it did kind of just like folded her up like a Bond villain and left her there. I was blown away from the first time I saw it. I think I rented it on Netflix and then I immediately went out and bought it after that. Like I was like, yeah, this is a movie worth owning.
I am lucky enough to own the Steelbook. That is, I've seen this go for quite a pretty penny these days. So I was pretty pumped that I was able to get this. And it's because has my favorite, like that's my favorite shot of the movie is her standing in front of the house. So as soon as I even saw that, I was like, yes, I need that. I need that in my collection.
Well, and I looked up, like, I remember after I watched the movie, I looked up what else this guy had done. And David Robert Mitchell's only done 4 movies. And the 2 before this don't stand out. And then he did that really weird Andrew Garfield movie.
Under the Silver Lake.
Silver Lake, yeah. And I actually kind of enjoy that movie. I think it's a little long and it's a little too weird at points, but I did enjoy it. And talk about a journey movie too. But
yeah, you do a re-edit on that movie, and I think you potentially have like a amazing movie.
You do a re-edit, it could turn into an old Hitchcock movie.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's like he's a wonderful cinematographer, and and whoever he has doing the cinematography, I should say. I assume it's Mike Giolakis.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing too. Yeah. And he wrote this, so he can put together a really compelling story, but just I don't know what happened to him. And then of course,
it is
Micah,
the greatest mystery. The greatest mystery.
Yeah. And then like a lot of the people in it are familiar. Like Keir Gilchrist is probably the other guy that shows up in a lot. Because that's the name of the guy that likes her buddy that ends up kind of with her, right?
Yeah, Paul.
Paul, yeah.
Yeah. And one, did you notice too, the cute boy next door is actually the priest from Pope's Exorcist.
Oh, funny.
As soon as he even came up, I was like, oh, I didn't even realize. So then I went to his IMDb, and he's also in Don't Breathe. He's like the douchebag guy in Don't Breathe.
Oh, he's the guy that dies first in that like comes up with everything. Oh, holy crap, you're right.
Yeah, I was like, what in the hell? I didn't even realize. And then the other girls, I don't recognize them from, but
we explain the concept. At what point are there spoilers in this movie?
So yeah, that is kind of a weird. We won't get into like the ending stuff or any kind of resolution stuff. But that'll be we'll do a cutoff point. But yeah, obviously the actual. I mean, yeah, because technically, even the whole setup
there's
is
a turn.
kind of there's a turn, but we have to like discuss that.
Yeah. So what did you think of that scene when that happened? So they get in the car on a date.
So yeah, the date itself, I mean, the build up in general, I really like, but also this time around, I just because of knowing the movie, I found a weird coziness to the proceedings with Micah before the date, because it's just like it's the only time where she's not being pursued, and like when she's floating in the pool, I was like, this is like a nice little breather before all of the insanity. So that aspect was really nice. But then like when they actually go start having sex, and then it's the aftermath where she is in just ecstasy, and there's this great shot of it's looking down at her, like she's essentially reaching down for a flower that's just outside the car, and it's such a beautiful shot. But then when it goes back the other way, you can see the guy, Hugh, coming around, and it's like, oh, what's he going to do? He kisses her, and it's like, oh, they're going to round 2. And nope, he brings a chloroform around. And the best thing too, the chloroform isn't instant, because whether it's death or drug effects, I hate when that shit happens in an instant. Just give me some struggle. And that was it was exactly what we needed, that little struggle. It's so good. And then when she's tied up, which, by the way, that dude is playing with fire, because like, what if something goes wrong? What if he can't get her out in time? And then she's like immediately killed, and then
you're right next to the thing.
Yeah, and then you're screwed. Like all of your work, it's like you got an apartment to screw with this girl, like to give it to her. You set up all this fake identity and like it could have been screwed in no time. But I mean, it's a great visual with her strapped to the chair and when he pulls her
camera
back,
follows her. Yeah.
Which yet again just goes back to why is this director not doing anything?
After the first time I watched the movie, subsequent viewings, you can tell that the guy's nervous on the date too. He's got a countdown. And there's an expiration date on his head that he's got to seal the deal here. Just everything about the buildup. And then once it goes, it goes. He explains her the rules. It's a very Randy explaining rules of horror film and Scream, but he's telling the other character the rules of this specific universe. And I will say they do a great job of not breaking their own rules, and they follow them after they make them. And that's a pet peeve I have when movies break their own rules near the end of it or change character powers or things like that. I hate that. And this movie does a good job of following.
100%. Maybe not number one, but one of my top 5 biggest annoyances is like if you set up the rules for a world, you have to follow them. It's the same reason of like I can believe anything that you're setting up as long as it makes logical sense with the rules you gave us. As soon as you break that, you've lost me entirely. And they do a really good job with the consistency with it. Because too, it's like because the rules are so established, the tension is just able to he's able to do stuff with the camera that just helps raise the tension in such a unique way. One of my favorite things that he does, well, two things, which it's a similar concept, but just different execution. The spinning camera, where you'll see someone like walking towards camera while it's spinning around. And it keeps going around, and then it's like, because there's one part in particular where Micah is in a building and it looks like someone's coming from outside, and she's completely ignorant to it. So good. And then same too when they're on the beach, it shows someone coming up, but rather than the spinning shot, it just cuts to other things. So then you as the viewer, you're just like, get back. I want where. You're like, how close is she to Micah? How close is she? Oh, so good.
Well, and then they do a great job there because then it cuts and it gives us from the other character's perspective. So we can no longer see the creature and we just see her hair come up. And that was a great move. But yeah, every time you're always at that point forward, you're always looking in the background of that film.
Yeah.
And it's the most deliberate. It reminds me kind of rewatching this movie is similar to rewatching something like Memento, where once you know what's going on, once you know what order everything is in, then you can kind of tell and piece it together. But yeah, once they set up the rules, and it does a good job of going back and forth with that. There's, and I'm sure we'll get to it, but when as a group they're trying to capture the creature or kill the creature anyway, you can't see it for the most part unless it's from Micah's perspective. And then during the sleepover, when probably the movie's most famous jump scare happens.
Everything's okay.
Watching this movie, I was just like, oh my God, it's so perfect. But I did find one negative. So when Hugh drops Micah off after the date, I hate how long it takes for Paul, Kelly, and Yara to react when Micah comes home. It's poor direction, which it's the only moment in the movie that's like that, because they're literally they're in position where when you then see the reverse and see the shot, literally they would have stood up and started running towards her the moment the car pulled away and they saw her down on the ground, especially with how much they care for her throughout the rest of the movie. That was one moment where I was like, yay, I have a negative. Cool. Two, I think the score is phenomenal. The score in this, I need to download this and have this on my iPod. It's that good.
Yeah, it's another one of those scores that you hear the Carpenter-esque. And that's also why I associate it with the Guest, because that gets a lot for that as well.
A man named Disasterpiece.
I was going to say it's Disasterpiece. I have no idea. I don't remember seeing that at all, but the music is something that sticks with me just as much as the movie does.
Yeah, and I don't, because apparently he did the score for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies as well, which I do not remember that score at all. So I'm not sure. It's like, I think I really like him though. I love this score. So
I was going to say, maybe he's another David Robert Mitchell where he's got It Follows under his belt and then he's just nothing else to his name.
He does a bunch of video games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like Hyper Light Drifter. That's apparently his big one. So that's cool.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah. I mean, this soundtrack or this score is phenomenal.
I'm trying to think if they did any, but I like when we have smart horror movie characters. And I think for the most part, we have, other than the one guy thinks he can take care of himself and, takes a hit for the team by sleeping with Micah. Poor guy. It's such a hard decision.
Yeah. Where it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Everything about that where it's just like, what? He clearly does not believe you with any of this stuff. That's what all that proves. Which, although, you said smart characters, and I agree for the most part, except when they have a gun in their hand. They become the stupidest character in the world because, like, especially, literally anytime they have a gun, they're shooting at each other, which it would make, when Micah does it, it makes sense because, like, she sees the demon, whatever the heck it is.
Yeah. The actual creature.
The other people, there's nothing there. So they're literally just shooting at their friends, like being stupid, where it's like that aspect took me out of it. However, all I could think was like, you fucking stupid kids. It didn't take me out of it in terms of you stupid movie. It was just you stupid kids.
Yeah. It reminded me of like most video games you play as, a Sam Fisher or a Solid Snake. Like you're this trained badass guy. And then every now and then you'll get like the first Silent Hill where Harry Mason is just a dad. And like the game purposely makes your shooting mostly inaccurate unless you're pretty close up. And even though, yes, I was like, God, you're going to help the creature. You're going to kill your buddies and allow it to. It did bring back that reality of they are just kids and they don't know what they're doing. So yes, it was aggravating. Like, God, stop it. But it was also realistic. It wasn't a stupid character decision. It was like they're doing what they can, or what they think they can anyway.
The only reason we're even doing the spoilers is because it's like, yeah, I guess technically you can know the plot of this, but not know how it resolves. So
who's going to live and how they get out of it, if they get out of it, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like how they do it. It's, I like how they tease that she's going to sleep with the guys on the boat. That's brilliant. I like how they also tease that Paul is going to pick up a hooker. It's nice because then it's like, okay, it shows that yes, they are thinking of these things, but they're good people, so they don't go through with it. Like that's interesting.
And like when they're walking, they're not happy about it. Like they're not happy that they can't have a normal relationship because they slept with other people to get rid of this thing. They're feeling guilty about passing it along to people. And also just in the back of their mind, they're like, well, eventually it's going to come back at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
Or it could anyway.
Yeah. Well, and that brings me to my question, because the ending, I love that the ending is totally ambiguous. However, I would say that it is up for interpretation. So in your head, is that the demon going after them at the end, or did they break the curse?
I think I don't know if they broke the curse, but I'm saying that is one more wink to us, because I feel like they'd be looking around a lot still and like eyeballing people following them, and they don't seem nervous whatsoever. Now, what's interesting is it also could be the curse, but not going for them currently, and they can't actually see it.
Yeah.
And it's going to walk past them and go for whoever else is next in line too. Yeah. But no, I think it's a one last wink from the writer director saying like, I've trained you to watch the background the entire movie. So I'm just going to mess with you one last time as we go. Just because I think, like in my mind, he sleeps with at least, a handful of ladies of the night that they see passing. And then that's going to do, they're going to have more than one John per night. And it's going to keep spreading it around.
So you think he went through with it?
Yes.
I don't think he went through with it because of the drive away and the turn from the hooker. It felt like him turning down the choice.
Got it. I also could have seen it as like, you could see that way. So do you think it is going after them at the end?
No, and I'll tell you, I will tell you, I am very adamant that it's not, because I watch this on a big TV. You can see the guy look over. He looks over it. There's like kids that are with my surround sound. There's kids that make some noise off to the left, and the guy looks over. The creature doesn't. He is dead set. Looks just at them. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as soon as watching it this time, so I was like, so is it? Because I remember having an argument with someone saying that it was absolutely. So then I was like, okay, open mind, I'll watch. And then as soon as I saw the head turn, I was like, okay, nope, never mind. That's it. Which I like, because it's like, I like a downer ending, but especially for a journey film like this, I like when it kind of, we get to see that person persevere.
Well, yeah, it's rewarding a smart decision, right? Or it's rewarding a hard decision and smart characters. If we were talking to Lance, he would want the downer, nihilistic ending, of course. Just everything ends poorly. But I like the fact that, so in my head canon, it's I like to think of it as either no, it's not, or it could be the creature, but they can't see it because it's going for somebody else. But I don't remember. I didn't remember seeing, because if it does look around, no, that thing doesn't see anybody but its current task is the whole point of that. So
well, and especially the kids, the kids, like the kids making a noise. That's when I was like, oh, yep. So it's even him looking like a sound. So it's like, it's not just like, oh, the extra just like looked accidentally, like anything like that. It's like, no, they definitely set something up. So whether what that means, I mean, I guess anything. That's the great thing about the ending being ambiguous. So it's like, it's kind of like Inception. I am dead set on it being a very clear ending for Inception. However, it's open for interpretation. Like, people can just see what they want.
I think the top is falling down, for the record.
It 100% is. He's not in a dream.
Yeah. No, he's finally awake. Yeah.
I'm
glad we can clear that up for the internet. I'm sure no one will disagree with us whatsoever. So this will be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's do our ratings for It Follows.
I'm the guest, so I'll go first, I guess. It's hard for me. I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I also don't like handing out 10 out of 10s typically. But I really can't think of many problems I have with it. I think if we're looking at the last 10 years of horror films, this one stands above in terms of originality. And it's so rare that even though you know what's going to happen, how rewatchable it is. This is also something that I think you can show people. Yes. I think certain great horror movies, certainly of this century, even say the last 23 years, there's a lot of them that I wouldn't show to most people I know because they're just not made for the general public.
Infinity Pool is my favorite movie of the year. I can't show it to anyone.
Nope. You're like, Andrew, will you please watch this movie so someone will talk to me about it on the show? Stuff like, even like, I love Midsommar, and there's so many people that I'd be like, no, you're going to be bored out of your skull with this movie. and I own the director's cut, the one you can only buy from A24. Like, it's hard to recommend. Whereas this one, it's 100 minutes, hour and 40 minutes. It moves really quick.
Yes.
And everything about it is great. And it's not overly graphic for the people that can't stomach that either.
Yeah.
Which I think works.
Yeah.
It's a lot of terribleness implied, but it is not overly graphic.
It's a classy horror movie in so many ways, where you might think, even when we say it's dealing with like STDs, where it's like, you might think there's like overly sex. No, the sex scene is done, or the multiple sex scenes are all done, classily. I mean, it's not like, as classy as teenagers fucking can be, but I am right there with you on this. I think that this is the best horror movie of the last decade, and maybe I'm biased because it was filmed in Michigan, so there's a certain coziness to it, because it looks like my streets. But I don't know. I have a hard time giving it anything other than a 10 out of 10, because even the negative that I gave it, it's still kind of in jest. Like, it doesn't really bug me. So,
all right, I won't sit on the fence. I will just go all in. I'll go 10 out of 10 as well, just because I don't have a good enough reason to not give it 10 out of 10, other than being not wanting to hand out 10 out of 10s because that's supposed to be a perfect film. But you know what? Screw it. This is a 10 out of 10 horror movie.
I don't hand out 10 out of 10s like pretty much ever. I think from the last decade, I think the only 10 out of 10s that I have are this film, It Chapter 1, and Hereditary, maybe.
I mean, Tyler, I think our scores combined for the last movie we did added up to a 10 out of 10, let alone giving one movie a 10 out of 10. So
yeah. Especially, I mean, we were doing, because that's another thing with a 10 out of 10 too, is you gotta, I mean, I believe you need time to pass. Like I very rarely give a 10 out of 10 the year it releases. It kind of needs to hold up. Because I mean, shit, I loved Halloween 2018, and Halloween Ends kind of ruined it for me. So sometimes you just need some distance between those. So let me know what you guys think of It Follows. Do you guys agree with us that it's one of the best horror films of the modern era, or do you hate it for some reason and do you want to fight us? Because we will fight you.
Pow! Right in the kitchen.
But no, that's really all. And thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment on also letting us know what you guys would want to see us cover in October. We're going to be doing a big Halloween Ends special, or David Gordon Green Halloween trilogy. But other than that, I don't really know. We're just going to try and hit stuff that you guys want us to cover. So let us know, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Goodbye.